Hello, Misfits, and welcome! In today's video, we are reading some RPG horror stories, reacting to them, and I will be giving my 2 cents on each story. I have not read these yet. I've, briefly sort of skimmed the titles or, the TLDR just a little bit, but I don't know exactly what we're in for, so I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. There are sadly so many of these stories, and each one is very different from the last, so let's see what happens. Also, I'm super aware that the camera in this new setup has been less than stellar, so I'm trying something out to see if I can kind of make the frame rate more consistent. So if you would be so willing, keep an eye out for it. Let me know if this was better or worse than the past couple of videos. All right? Story number 1. A player refuses to use his character's powers or even say what they are. Okay, so initial thoughts. It sounds like somebody who, doesn't know how to be a team player, maybe? Refuses to use their powers or even say what they are. I don't know, maybe they're trying to be a loner, or maybe they've got a little main character syndrome, and that's why they're holding on to all these secrets and not sharing. I'm not entirely sure, but that's my gut. Okay. The problem player in the PvP campaign I'm in barely posts IC in character and writes a sentence at most when he does bother posting. He claims it's because his character does not have anything to say or do until his secret story arc happens. He refuses to use his character's powers at all. When finally pressed on this, he claims it's because his character hasn't gotten his powers yet, which he told none of the other players about. This was completely unnecessary since all the other characters started with their powers. He's made his character useless when he didn't have to be, just for his own personal storyline. That's honestly pretty infuriating. So he doesn't have powers, and he didn't tell them about that at all. So they've basically just been carrying around this dude that's been a liability, not really even a party member. I would be pretty frustrated, not gonna lie. Let's keep reading. When I had my character ask his character to use his powers in character, he accused me of metagaming out of character, then proceeded to backtrack once I pointed out our characters should have known each other's powers beforehand. Not just that, he outright refuses to say what his character's powers are in a game where knowing what other characters can do is incredibly important for resource management. He keeps referencing his character's secret story arc whenever another player asks him a question about his character and refuses to answer, regardless of what the question was. Every other character knows enough about each other to be close acquaintances, at least, but he demands his character remain a mystery. Yeah, this is giving me main character syndrome. He has this super secret story arc that's just about him, and he's got all these secrets, and that makes him more special or more important, and why he's not really being a team player. He's all about himself. That's a very main character syndrome sort of thing. He claims the GM approved everything he's done. The GM hasn't said otherwise. That sucks. That sucks. The GM is really dropping the ball here. They should be it should never get to a point where players are complaining to other players about this, or in my opinion, the GM should do their job and keep any of this from getting to this point. He just now threatened to quit the campaign when it was pointed out that his character was dragging the whole party down. And when he finally agreed to show us his character sheet, the vast majority of it was blank. I want to tell him to either pull his own weight or quit, but then I look like the bad guy, and look like I'm usurping the GM's authority, and I'm not sure if anyone else in the campaign would back me on it. I've got another GM who I could switch to, but I'd either need to convince the other players to come with me or find new players, and everyone else is on the same Discord servers as me, so that could result in bad blood being carried over. You need to talk to your GM. Like, if something like this happens, you need to talk to your GM, voice your concerns or frustrations, and then go from there. If it ever gets to the point where you're posting stories to Reddit, then your GM has failed you. In my opinion, because like I know the GM is really just supposed to be running the story, but like you're also managing the group and you are like the de facto leader. You just are. You're gonna have responsibilities. You need to make sure that the people at your table are happy, and obviously this player is not happy. Now, this whole other character that has a mostly blank character sheet, what I bet is happening here is I've read of this before, this idea of like, oh, I don't know what my character is or what they can do, and it gets revealed to me slowly as the campaign unfolds. I wonder if this is one of those characters, and maybe they worked it out with the GM ahead of time. I mean, the GM didn't say that they didn't approve this. The player supposedly had this approved by the GM, and the GM hasn't said otherwise, so they probably worked it out with the GM, and the GM just, I don't know, maybe just isn't very good at implementing this idea of like you slowly realizing your players, your character's abilities as the campaign unfolds. Maybe they're just not very good at that, and they've just not been unfolding these abilities and things like quickly enough. It just seems like a lot of this could be solved with some communication, and maybe if the GM would, be a driving force in that. Most of the comments here are sort of backing up the feeling that this is awkward and frustrating and isn't really contributing to having a good game. And a lot of people here are also pointing out that they should talk to the GM directly. Like, when in doubt, go talk to your GM. Like, they're gonna have the final say anyway, so go talk to him about it, work it out. Alright, next story. DM allows player to roll persuasion to force all other players to give him all of their money. This is not good. The DM allows a player to roll persuasion to force all of the other players to give him all their money. That is not how persuasion rolls work. Persuasion and deception between different players is always kind of tricky because you're dealing with actual like people. It's one thing to be playing against like an NPC and stuff, like of course that has to be role based, but like lying or trying to be convincing between two player characters is tricky because it's more role play than actual rolling of die. But roles could come up if you're trying to convince somebody that what you're saying is genuine, or, if you're trying to dodge some questions about your past. And normally it just boils down to you've either said a truth or a lie, and you have to roll persuasion or deception, and the roll just determines whether or not they believe you or not. Normally it's not convincing somebody to do something, it's just convincing somebody about something that you have said. Those are totally different things, so I have a feeling this is going to be a rough one. Okay, here we go. Just before a short rest, a warlock who had developed a reputation for harebrained schemes and general silliness stated that he wants to persuade the table to give all of their money to him. I'm already triggered. I'm already mad. He didn't provide much for an actual argument, simply stating something like, "You all should give me your money. I will keep it safe." I know that there's like a fine line between, just saying what you intend to do versus acting out what you're doing. I don't think you necessarily have to act out all roleplay-based stuff that would result in a charisma, persuasion, deception, whatever. But I would want more than like, "You should all give me your money. I'll keep it safe." It's like, why would you keep it any safer than anybody else? Like, what is your argument that makes you the choice here? Like, what are you going to say that is convincing? You don't have to actually act it out, but what are you trying to convey that would convince everybody else to believe you? Like, I would need that information as a DM. Anyway, I digress. Let's continue. The DM, and they put in parentheses, this is a 5e campaign, told him to roll persuasion, which he did. Getting a high roll, I think it was a 17. 3 players within earshot were then told to roll persuasion, and 2 of them came up short, including me. Well, first off, that's the incorrect roll. Like, persuasion and deception should always be against insight, typically. That's generally how that works, because you are trying to suss out whether they are being genuine or honest or, trying to decide if you believe what they're saying or not. It's not a lie detector, but you are, it's like a gut feeling almost of like whether you trust or believe them or not. It doesn't necessarily tell you what is true, but it tells you what you think is true. So that's already a misstep, because a lot of people will dump persuasion or charisma, whereas insight is based on wisdom, which is less likely to get dumped as a stat. So that definitely set them up for failure there. Okay, let's continue. The DM then told us that our characters were persuaded and that we relinquished all of our gold to the warlock. I have a fundamental issue with this. I don't necessarily have a problem with the PvP aspect of this, as we had already engaged in some mild physical skirmishes and headbutting amongst the party, but I think that the reason to roll for anything within the party should be to simulate something that can't be acted out well, and persuading the party can and should be acted out. I honestly do agree. Obviously, it is a different story if the player in question is using an actual spell like Charm. True, although for a lot of those spells, they only last so long, and you typically realize that you've had something cast on you afterwards. But anyway. And even if we accept that such a thing could happen via a roll, I feel like the roll to resist the persuasion should have been made at advantage or with a significant bonus, as getting something to give up, as getting someone to give up their money for no reason should be a very difficult task. I agree. In this case, I was also wary of the warlock due to previous interactions, so I feel that I should have received an additional bonus due to being naturally less likely to view the warlock's suggestions favorably. I totally see everything that they're saying, but if they feel this way, if they feel like they should have gotten bonuses, they should have, had these buffs or had advantage, they should have voiced that to the DM in that exact moment. You know what I mean? And it doesn't sound like that happened. This is the DM's first campaign, and the second one I've ever been a part of as a player. Half the table has never played D&D before, so sessions are very slow as we figure stuff out. And in general, he is doing a fantastic job. This was our third session, and I'm really enjoying my time at the table. It's just that this one incident made my blood boil a bit. Yeah, so this is part of it. When you are a first-time DM, you are going to fumble your way through situations and ultimately learn that you have made mistakes or you've done something correctly. Like, you are going to learn what works for your table and what doesn't, and I really don't think there is any way to figure that out without experiencing it. I have definitely had my own personal blunders as a DM. There are absolutely things that I have done in my games that I regret and would have done differently had I been given another chance. So I did wonder if this was like a new DM. So that does explain some things. They have an edit here at the bottom. It's been very reassuring to read everyone's comments and know that I am not taking crazy pills here. The consensus is that I should talk to the DM about this, and I'll definitely do that if he continues to do things like that. like this. In general, he's put a lot of work into the campaign and made it a very fun experience, so I thought I'd just vent about this one issue for now. Honestly, I would go ahead and talk to him about it now, and not wait for another mistake, because he can't fix a problem if he doesn't know that the problem exists. So, you know, if you got frustrated by something that happened at the table, you need to go tell the DM about that now so that they can prevent it from happening again. They cannot correct what they don't know is wrong. So that would be my consensus. But oh man, I would be so mad. I would be so mad. All right, our next story. If your DM ever asks you if you're wearing gloves, always say yes. Or, in parentheses, how my first character bit the dust in under 10 minutes. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, this is not gonna be good. Okay, this is gonna be one of those things where the DM probably wanted to, like, make an example. So they just sort of, I don't know, made some unsurvivable situation or decided after the fact that something was going to be deadly and this player got. And honestly, it was probably because the scene wasn't set up well enough to begin with. That's going to be my guess. Well, let's find out. Oh, here's the setup. Once upon a long ago. That's a weird sentence. Once upon a long ago, in a time where D&D players had to understand a thing called THAC0 and lower AC scores were dope, a group of friends had decided to sit around a table to roll some dice and tell some stories. It had taken me a long time to roll up a character. I didn't yet know the rules, and I had to borrow a copy of the player's handbook. I must have taken poor little old me with my undiagnosed ADHD the better part of a week to create Davis, the light-hearted, wisecracking, half-elven rogue, whose purpose in life was to find fame, glory, and learn the ins and outs of dungeon delving, as well as overcome the stigma of his mixed heritage. What a lovely little character, and I hard relate to the, like, ADHD, the undiagnosed ADHD really making that character creation process longer than it needs to be. Okay, I was in love with this character. He always knew what to say, how to interact with people, how to handle the various dangers associated with venturing forth into those dark places wherein most monsters call home. I show up a little late for our first session, so I was apologetic. The group of adventurers had already found their way into a dungeon and were delving through the Stygian depths. It would take about 40 minutes to get around to me. Interesting. They mentioned that they were late. I wonder if that factors in. Is the fact that they were late why they got? Like, in 40 minutes to get around to me, like, were they fighting? Like, why is it going to take 40 minutes to get around to this character? Interesting. Davis finds his way to a side entrance, a door in a rock wall, as the sun fell beyond the western horizon. Davis tries to open the door, and I hear a die clatter on the other side of the DM screen. DM says, the door appears to be locked. What do you do? They say, I pick the lock. And they give him the open lock roll. The DM says that they succeed, and then they enter the dungeon. The DM says, are you wearing gloves? And they say no. Okay, this is coming from the DM. As you begin to travel down the hallway, you can hear the echoing voices of the adventurers whom you are on your way to meet. A wave of dizziness grips you as you lose consciousness. You die a foolish death. You did not do this. This DM did not do this to this brand new player. They had never played before. You're gonna kill them in their first session? You die a foolish death. And then it goes to them, and they say, what the fuck? The DM, contact poison on the doorknob, roll up a new character? Oh my gosh! They're inconsolable. They spend the rest of the session holding back hot, angry tears and wishing that something Eldritch would eat this guy, this DM. It's a miracle that it came back for another session at all. That infuriates me. What? Why? Why would you do that? I like to think that I'm a pretty good sport about things. However, this motherfucker just killed my first D&D character in my first 5 minutes of my first game. For years after I really tried to like this guy because he was tight with some of the other players at his table. And one day, years later, I hear that the lady that I like is going out with him. I would say she was and is my best friend and favorite person. TBH, to say I've got it bad for her wouldn't be a stretch. I do my best to be happy for her. They go on and get married. He is a trash person to her. They get divorced. She gives me a call. We start to date, get hitched, and totally agree that the guy is the worst. What a turnaround. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's infuriating. Well, and also, it didn't sound like the DM gave them any chance to, suss out if the lock had anything on it, like if there was any danger. This person has never played the game before. You have to do some hand-holding in those first few sessions. I would say... I would prompt them to make a perception roll or investigation check. They don't know what dangers lie in the world. Come on. That's crazy. And then, if it was poisoned, they should have gotten a con save, right? They should have absolutely gotten a con save. I don't know. This is an older version of the game, so I'm not as familiar, but man... Yeah, this one person comments, 2nd edition AD&D had a saving throw called Paralyzation, Poison, or Death Magic. Your DM was being a major jerk. He was out to kill you and never gave you a chance. Yeah, for sure. That's totally on the DM. The DM just is not good. And obviously isn't good. I mean, we know that they truly were a trash person, and it led to the divorce between him and the girl that he liked. I'm glad they got together. I'm glad that guy got a happy ending, but I hate that his first experience with the game was so negative. Okay, here's the next story. Butthurt D&D player sends malware to the DM's computer after his character died. Okay, this is just straight up criminal sounding, at least from the start. I mean, it would take a lot to justify this action from a player. And honestly, nothing really should condone that. So, okay, first one was communication issues. The DM was probably not doing their part to really manage the people at the table, and a player was frustrated and hadn't communicated that to the DM, and that led to them not having a good time. The second one was, honestly, the DM was too new, didn't know when to, have roles made and when to allow role play, and kind of a problem player in there as well, trying to take gold from everybody. And then the next one was just a straight up bad DM. There's no excusing that. They basically just killed that player for no reason. Player character, sorry, not the player. This one sounds like a bad player. Just a straight up bad player, but let's get into it. This story is kind of awkward because we were all friends who played D&D on Discord. To top it off, my cousin, an Aarakocra monk, is still best friends with that guy, the Aarakocra wizard of this story. How can you be friends with somebody who sends malware to your DM's computer? Anyway, the DM also happens to be dating one of the players, Orc Ranger. I was a halfling cleric. DM dating one of their players. I feel like that often leads to stories. Sometimes it's totally fine, but sometimes not a good idea. Anyway, our campaign started in a castle of this noble. We were all this noble's courtiers until she sent us out on our first mission. After that mission, we gained some XP, and she sent us out to explore the world for suspicious hobgoblin activity. We didn't find the hobgoblin she was worried about, but ended up in some dragonborn empire that held a very powerful magic item. Wow, they're just throwing us all over the place. Now, Aarakocra Wizard was a klepto. Oh, that's great. He was always trying to steal, and if stealth didn't work, he'd just kill the people who caught him. Okay, so he's a murder hobo, is what I'm getting. Also, it's kind of weird to think of a klepto wizard. I'm just used to that being the rogue, and so I'm trying to picture a wizard relying on stealth checks and stuff to steal stuff. And then what is he doing? Just like fireballing everybody? Notably, he ended up killing a dragonborn prince after he snuck into said prince's treasury looking for armor, loot, magic items, etc., and got caught. We're sneaking into a kingdom's treasury and just taking stuff willy-nilly? Are these people evil? We don't know that, do we? That's a choice. It sounds like, that's a choice. Okay, so he got caught. He killed the prince after the prince saw him looting, an action we strongly advised against, might I add. He then tried to hide the prince's body by casting plane shift and sending him to another realm. Does plane shift work on objects? Hang on. You can use this spell to banish an unwilling creature to another plane. Yeah, it's not for objects, it's for creatures, but and when you die, your body becomes an object. That's kind of like... Anyway. Okay, so he tried to hide the prince's body by plane shifting, by casting plane shift to send him to another realm. He failed automatically, though, because he was not even supposed to have a plane shift at his level. Why is he trying to cast spells he doesn't have? What? We then got caught and faced the wrath of the Dragonborn Emperor. We were all arrested. The rest of us disavowed his actions, except for my cousin, the monk Aarakocra, and were granted a pardon if we embarked on a dangerous quest to find this evil sword, the magic item we came for in the first place. But Aarakocra Wizard, the one that killed people, the murder hobo, was kind of caught red-handed, so he was to be executed, as was the monk, his buddy standing up for him. Aarakocra Wizard tried to escape using Hypnotic Pattern. Unfortunately, the guards passed, and then he panicked, throwing all spells from Acid Splash to Fireball to even trying to sneak in Meteor Swarm of all spells. Again, he obviously wasn't going to be able to cast a spell like that at his level. How would he even know it? How does he even know that spell? You have to, learn these spells over time. You have to acquire them. What? The guards then ask him his last words, as now the player was now raging IRL, and then he was killed. Aarakocra Wizard player was now screaming, "Are you effing serious?" And the DM tried to, in the kindest terms, explain that this game would not be fun without potentially dire consequences for dangerous actions. Aarakocra Wizard's player then kept going off, and my cousin tried to join in, and said that the DM was being unfair. This dude waltzed in and killed a prince and got executed for it. That's just sort of how that works. What do you mean unfair? Me and my DM's boyfriend defended the DM, and then the wizard just started shouting us down too. The argument ended when Wizard's player called her the C word, at a point until she just had enough and kicked Wizard from the call. That's right, they're playing on Discord. I would have kicked him way before. Wow. Brief pause in this story. I feel like some of this could have been avoided with a session 0. I don't know if they had one or not, but that's where you would establish whether this is going to be story driven and logical and there are consequences to negative actions, or if we can murder hobo and the stakes are low. That's where a lot of that gets decided. I don't know if that happened here, but that would have solved a lot of this. Yikes. Okay, We all talked about what happened for a bit and then went to bed. A few days later, I got a call from the DM explaining that she got hacked. She was very distraught. To me, her and her boyfriend... Oh, she was very distraught, so me, her, and her boyfriend all met up. She told us how she clicked on a Discord link from that guy that took her to this weird site that apparently dumped viruses on her computer. So now her computer is basically broken with weird command prompts popping up, random programs, and the computer freezing up. She was very emotional, so me and the DM's boyfriend confronted that guy on my phone. He, for some reason, tried to deny it, even though it was on his Discord profile. This guy, and one of these people is still friends with him? What? He claimed he was hacked, but when pressed, he just got pissed off again and basically admitted it and blamed the DM for making him resort to extreme actions. How old is this dude? How old is this dude? He sounds like a teenager. He sounds like a stupid, whiny little brat. Me and the DM's boyfriend told him what a piece of shit he was, and then he kept trying to justify it, saying that we cyberbullied him. Her computer wouldn't have been affected if it weren't so old and shitty, and that he was doing her a favor by making her get a new one, and then mocked her for not having an antivirus program. Bear in mind that the DM is crying in the background. Oh my gosh. At the end of this back and forth, DM's boyfriend was angrier than I had ever seen him and told him that if he ever sees him again, he will knock his teeth out, and then we hung up. That is a good boyfriend. That is a good boyfriend right there. You want somebody that's gonna, just get pissed on your behalf. Yeah, I would go punch this dude in the face for sure. After the incident, we reported his account to Discord and stopped speaking to him. All of us except my cousin, who says that he gets that he went too far, but says that he just has trouble with his emotions. Bullshit. I'm sorry. There just comes a point where you have to act like an adult human being. Sometimes you get frustrated, but you can't act on it. You have to have self-control. He tried to subtly blame us for being so hard on him. Man, this cousin we gotta kick this cousin to the curb. He even convinced the DM not to press charges. However, she still obviously refuses to speak to him and told my cousin to stop trying to relay his messages to her or defend him. I can't believe I would drop the cousin so fast. So fast. If somebody hurts me like that, if somebody, really, really affected me like that, and then one of my so-called friends has the audacity to defend them, no. You're done. You're absolutely done. And, this wasn't that... It's tough, because I hate in-game consequences for out-of-game actions. So if somebody's being a jerk to you outside of the game, I wouldn't want to punish you in the game, because that's not fair. But this was in-game consequences for in-game actions. His character in the game was being ridiculous, was stealing, and murdered a prince. So naturally, the royal family retaliated, captured him, and executed him. That's just how that goes. And play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Wow, that is crazy. Let's read some of the comments. Dude, she has to press charges or else he will never learn. I agree. And if I was her, I would cut off your cousin too for defending such a POS. Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely press charges. Yeah, trouble with emotions. Somebody's talking about how he claims he has trouble with his emotions. This is past that. He put malware on the DM's computer because he lost his fictional character. He has trouble with his emotions. If that's the least of it, what else could he do if he gets upset over over a game, over something that's not real. Like, gosh, how long were they even playing this game? Like, you know, that's what I wonder. Had they been playing with these characters for literal years? I mean, they're not a high enough level to cast some of these other things, so I don't know how far into the campaign they were, but like, I don't know, make a new character and don't steal stuff all the time? That's just wild to me. Okay, well, these were some D&D horror stories, some RPG horror stories. Like, what are your thoughts on these? I feel like some of them were not too bad, and then we just escalated. I tried to save the, like, really juicy one for last, and I'm glad it actually worked out that way. But, like, oh my gosh. I think the ones up front can be solved with communication and experience. Like, you know, when you're frustrated and upset by what's happening in the game, like, talk to your DM about it. Talk to your GM about it. They can't fix it if they don't know it's happening. If your DM is new to the game and still learning and they make some mistakes that upset you, talk to them about it. Let them know. You know, point some stuff out. They can't get better if they don't learn what they're doing wrong. If you have some problem players in your game that are ruining your fun, you need to talk to the DM about it or leave that game for sure. And this one, like, yeah, if somebody at your table is like legitimately trying to ruin the life of one of the other players or the DM, yeah, maybe press charges and get the police involved. Gosh, that's crazy. I am so thankful that that I have not experienced anything like that. That is wild to me. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you want to support me or this channel, feel free to like and subscribe, but way more importantly, leave a comment down below. What are some stories that you have heard that just, like, boggle your mind? Or what are your opinions on the ones that we heard today? I would love to hear all about it. The comments are what help other people see this video and find this channel, so that stuff really helps me out. But with all of that said and done, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you again next time. Yeah, I'm still just trying to figure out this whole setup in this new space. I'm not happy with my audio. It's like getting slightly better each time, but I'm just not super thrilled with the setup. I'm working on it. It's just a little, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's kind of like echoey. And I've been trying to put stuff on the walls that, like, hopefully are improving it just a little bit, but it's just taking a little bit of time, and I'm trying to work out this camera situation. So please let me know if it was any better in this video. That would be really helpful to me. Oh, I should let you know, because this is Labor Day, we took this weekend off, so there will be no game posting Friday. I might try to get something else out to drop Friday, but if I don't, I don't. But yeah, if you would like to hear all of my thoughts and opinions on all of the D&D Beyond and Wizards of the Coast drama, I will link that video at the end of this one. Or if you would like some advice on how to handle player characters dying in your game, be sure to check out that video as well. But yeah, see you next time, guys.